In the past few weeks, we have all witnessed a lot of drama, actually theatre, in Parliament. And the one point kind of program of the opposition and a similar kind of theatre from the government side has been somewhat like this, because it is theatre, it is really the enactment of a drama. I would have to be a little dramatic myself. So the opposition says, "Oh, look at this. This is in danger," meaning the Constitution of India. They have got themselves some red books. They do not know what purpose it serves. And the Constitution is in danger. It is going to be broken. And out comes the government side, which says, "You broke the Constitution. We are going to protect it." So this kind of argument goes on. And one cannot but be amused by this, because on the one side, they say that they will shed their blood for the Constitution, and on the other side they say, "You violated the Constitution in 1975, which is a good 50 years back." And this happens in Parliament, our Parliament, in the year of the Lord 2024. This is what happened. Now, let me deal with all this thing one by one, as briefly as I could, but I don't know how brief I can be. What is this breaking of the Constitution and protecting the last drop of our blood, that kind of thing? The Constitution is not going to be broken. What happened in 1975 was itself the reminder of what could go wrong in certain circumstances. And all of us, the polity and everybody else, is aware of the injury to the Constitution, the violation that happened in 1975. We do not have to repeat that, what happened in 50 years ago. Our children and our children's children might read them in the history books. And this is no place. The Parliament in 2024 is no place for that kind of thing. Having said that, I said that the Constitution is not going to be broken, therefore it's all an imaginary issue that you're bringing up and wasting everybody's time and making a spectacle of yourself. Why do I say that the Constitution cannot and will not be broken? I say that because of the protection that has been put in by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of India has put in a real big wall, so to say, for anyone who might want to do anything to the Constitution, and that is the basic structure doctrine. Basic structure doctrine. No amendment can ever alter what the Supreme Court has called the basic structure. And in judgment after judgment, they have amplified what the basic structure is, adding more ingredients as they went along. So we have a pretty good defense against any such serious misdemeanor. And if you calmly look at it, almost every day, just about every day, the Supreme Court is defending the rights of our citizens and defending the basic structure of the Constitution. That's the job, that's the continuing job we do. And I should say, among all the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, they are that one institution which comes out best, no doubt, in my mind. So that is a bit of a, shall we say, imaginary issue of the Constitution going to be broken. Nothing of the sort. The second thing is um, the elevation of the constitution to a level of divinity. Speaking of what is called a sacred constitution, all these adjectives can do a lot of harm because they bring in and inject into this whole constitution what is not at all intended. Therefore, all those people who say this is the basic constitution, the sacred something of the constitution, one carrying this little red book and the other one having it on the head and saying this is something we venerate or whatever, they are doing a lot of harm themselves. The constitution, anyone who has gone through the history of how the constitution was put together would know that the Constitution of India is built on the skeleton, the basic skeleton of the Government of India Act 1935, which is a legislation passed by the British House of Commons. Everyone knows that there's no controversy. All these things are facts. What I'm saying is not my views, no radical views. It is just the facts. So that is one basic thing on which the drafters of the Constitution could work upon. They were very practical men because the Constitution had to be put together very quickly by 1950. So this is the basic. Every provision, bicameral legislature, and all the provisions that follow the order of the Government of India Act 1935. The other amendments also come in the amendments subsequent to the 35 Act. Then it is a kind of a given thing that and it is also open that they thought that the model would be the Westminster model. Now, the British Constitution is not a written constitution. There is no written constitution, but when you speak about the British Constitution, it means the conventions and all that govern the British governance. So again, we come to this that it is a Westminster model, and there is no doubt about that. Everyone says it is the Westminster model, cabinet government, and being responsible to the House of the People and things like that. Everything about it. The Constitution drafters had to, bring some flair into this whole thing, and they were also enthused by some of the constitutions of other countries. And this also is a historical fact that they had almost all the constitutions of the world, in a manner of speaking, but certainly these borrowed quite a bit from the American Constitution. The American Constitution, the Americans were drafting a constitution for a new nation. And therefore, there was a certain declamatory tone about it, whereas the rights of man, or whereas things like that, whereas there are God-given rights and so on, that is how it is. That's how they thought. And therefore, we have a lot of things to do, we, the people of India, liberty, equality, and fraternity and all. The fraternity is something which was borrowed from the French Constitution. And so it goes, because the putting together a document with a flair, with a certain amount of eloquence, was also the job of the drafting committee, or the drafters of the Constitution. Now, you'll ask me whether, come on, does it mean that they just copied it? No, they had the great but difficult task, ordinary but difficult task, of looking at the nitty-gritty of things. there are it's lots of papers on that, and it's all open. There's nothing wrong in that. That is, they circumscribed each right. They brought in the word subject to reasonable restrictions. So no right is untrammeled, no right is absolute. Every right in the Constitution is subject to reasonable restrictions. This is what they brought because of their knowledge of the working of government. All of them had pretty good experience of provincial governments. All of them were very intelligent lawyers, very good men who worked hard in the drafting. They worked very hard each day, coming like we do in school, coming every day and working on it. That also is recorded. So that was the main work of the drafters, to put together what is they call a practical way of governing the country. Subject to all this, we had all those lofty ideas already in the preamble, but then can we have an untrammeled absolute liberty? They had the wisdom to debate and say, no, we shouldn't do that. It will not work. It will not be right. And therefore, they brought in the practicality of things, the practical way of doing things, of running the country. So that is another aspect. I want to tell you how this document is. When you call it a sacred document, no, it's no sacred document. It is a practical document of how the country can be run. You see, to make this point complete, in 1976, the Swaran Singh Committee worked on what is called the fundamental duties of citizens. That also was added. There is a little bit not of the same level of drafting as the original one, but this also was added, the fundamental duties of citizens added to the Constitution. What I'm trying to say is that we borrowed from all these sources. It is a practical document of running the country. That is why most scholars on the Constitution have emphasized this word, working a Constitution. It's a living thing. It is a moving thing. It is not a static. Working a Constitution. Granville Austin has got that phrase also, working Constitution in working of Constitution, I think, modern government. So that's that part. So we just not debate on. Let's not overdo this sacred bit. That's not a fact. Now, what is Parliament after all? In the Westminster model, the Parliament work, which is mainly making legislation. The other legislative people, they have to legislate. Therefore, the work of Parliament is done in its committees. The Standing Committee, the Select Committee and all that. There they do the not so, shall we, showy thing of shouting and making very profound speeches. They sit down and work on the legislation. That's the main task of Parliament. Work in the committees. Of course, they have to come when the legislation is ready, when they have worked on all these things, they have to come for the vote, when the laws have to be voted by them. That's the last stage. So, what is the track record of all these things? as far as I can remember, the track record of Parliament's working is poor. Not much work is done. Not much debate before final passing. In fact, that debate could be concise and informative if good work has been done in the committees. But committees also, they don't produce many reports, and the work is not so great. It is slightly different. So that is the thing, that is the record that we have before us. So I would say this, that let us bring this whole thing a little bit to the ground. Let us touch the reality and see what this is all about, and don't take all the people of India as, as just witnesses to this theater. Let us do, when I say let us, I say I'm talking about the members of Parliament, both sides. We entreat you to do your job and show an example of the values that you say the Constitution has, and indeed it has, especially put down in the preamble. Show the values of fraternity. Don't have this hostility and lack of civility so much evident in your actions in Parliament. Let there be a change. Let the senior members who have vast experience, both on the opposition side and the government side, very senior people who know all these things, it is nothing new, who can advise moderation for both sides, for their side, moderation, civility, and fraternity above all, on both sides. Let the Parliament function as is expected. Let the Constitution not be elevated to such an extent that it becomes some kind of a divine thing. Let us understand all these things at a ground level thing, and not have the use of superlatives and unnecessary adjectives to cloud our mind over real issues. I put simply, I entreat that the parliamentarians work, and as I said, put solid work in the committees, and if possible, let them see their way in curtailing the hours they sit in Parliament. Let them go to their constituencies and do a lot of work they can. Wayanad is an example. If things have got stuck, is it because we need a separate legislation? Or is it because the facts have not been put to the government? That requires a cooperative attitude and an attitude of humility and civility from everyone. If you are standing all the time on a pedestal and think that others don't matter, then they don't go. So please set an example of civility and cooperation, which of course is the basic, is the essence of all working, including the working of the Constitution. Okay, take care.